Welcome back, focused learners. Let's jump right in. Today's explainer is all about a total mindset shift. We're looking at how Denzel Washington, the Denzel Washington, completely reframed the whole concept of failure. It's an absolute masterclass in resilience, and honestly, it really made me question how I look at my own setbacks. So when you're making a big life choice, picking a major, starting a career, what's the one piece of advice everybody gives you? Right, make sure you have something to fall back on. It's that classic safety net. But Denzel, he throws that idea right out the window. He says, look, if you're gonna fall, why in the world would you want to fall backwards? To really get this radically different approach, we've got to start with this incredibly powerful quote from Nelson Mandela. He said, "There is no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that's less than the one you're capable of living." That's the baseline here. Taking massive risks isn't just a suggestion, it's practically a requirement if you want a life that actually matters. You simply cannot play it safe and expect a passionate, fulfilled existence. So here's the difference. Conventional wisdom tells us that falling back means playing it safe, retreating, leaning on plan B. But Denzel's whole philosophy is about falling forward. It's brilliant, really, because the logic is just so simple. If you fall forward, at least you're going to see what you're about to hit. It's all about progressing right through your mistakes. Failure is totally inevitable, so you might as well fall in the direction you actually want to go. And hey, society really does forget your failures eventually. Just think about the number 2,600. That is how many times baseball legend Reggie Jackson struck out. 2,600 times. That's literally the most strikeouts in the entire history of Major League Baseball. But let me ask you, when people talk about Reggie Jackson, do they talk about the strikeouts? Absolutely not. They only remember the home runs. He had to fail 2,600 times just to become a legend. And this pattern of massive failure before a big win isn't just a sports thing either. Take the number 1,000. Thomas Edison had 1,000 failed experiments. 1,000. But the way he saw it, every single one of those failures was just a stepping stone. Because on attempt number 1,001, boom, he invented the light bulb. If Edison had decided to just fall back on experiment 900, well, we'd all be sitting in the dark right now. Okay, bringing this right back to Denzel Washington's own journey through failure, we hit the number 1.8. Now, this isn't a science experiment or a baseball stat. This was his college GPA, 1.8. His grades were just completely tanking in their own downward direction. Talk about hitting absolute rock bottom. This was the very definition of a failure moment. Let's walk through how chaotic his college years at Fordham University really were. He starts out pre-med, right? But then he hits this course called cardiac morphogenesis. He couldn't read it, couldn't say it, and he sure as heck couldn't pass it. So he pivots to pre-law. Actually, scratch that, he didn't stay there either. He shifted again over to journalism. He was just totally lost. And by age 20, sitting there with that 1.8 GPA, the university very politely suggested that he pack up and take some time off. But you know what? Sometimes failing spectacularly is exactly what you need to finally figure out where you're meant to be. Section 2, the Broadway disaster, failing in the acting business. You see, even for someone who would eventually become one of the most celebrated actors of our generation, those early days were full of brutal rejections. He auditioned for this part in a Broadway musical. He thought it was the absolute perfect role for him. The only problem? A pretty massive one, actually. He couldn't sing a note. So, naturally, he bombed. He didn't get the job. But here's the key. He did not quit, and he did not fall back. Instead, he walked out of there, he prayed, and he just kept preparing for the next audition, enduring rejection after rejection along the way. So why keep putting yourself through that kind of pain? Well, there's this wonderful old barbershop proverb from the source that explains it perfectly. You hang around the barbershop long enough, sooner or later, you're gonna get a haircut. I just love that. It perfectly captures his mindset. Sheer persistence, consistency, and continuous preparation will eventually force a lucky break. You literally just have to stay in the room. And the poetic justice of falling forward here is just unbelievable. That initial failure, the exact same court theater where he got rejected because he couldn't sing, that was the very same venue where 30 years later, Denzel starred in the smash hit Broadway play Fences. The training and the talent were always there, but he needed the guts to fail early on so he could finally triumph later. Section 3, March 27, 1975. The Beauty Shop Prophecy. Let's rewind back to his absolute lowest point. Picture this. He's a 20-year-old college dropout sitting in his mom's beauty shop in Mount Vernon, just feeling completely lost. Out of nowhere, one of the town elders takes a hairdryer off her head, looks at him, and delivers this wild vision. "Young boy, I have a prophecy, a spiritual prophecy. You are going to travel the world and speak to millions of people." No way, right? But that prophecy absolutely came true. He did travel the world, and he spoke to millions through his legendary movie career. And because of that incredible success, he was able to travel the globe. But what he saw out there was a world in desperate need. From international places like South Africa and Japan, all the way back home domestically to Alabama, Louisiana, and Philadelphia. The message here is clear. The world needs a lot, and it desperately needs the energy, the talent, the prayers, and the treasures of young people. Whatever your specific gift is, you've got to get out there and give it everything you have. Section 4, the deathbed, the ghosts of unfulfilled potential. Now, this is a seriously terrifying metaphor that Denzel uses, and it shifts the stakes right onto our own shoulders. Imagine you are lying on your deathbed and you're surrounded by ghosts, but they aren't your ancestors. No, these are the angry, disappointed ghosts of your own unfulfilled potential. They're the ideas you never acted on, the talents you were too scared to use. They came to you because only you could have brought them to life, but you decided to play it safe. And now they are forced to go to the grave with you. So you've really got to ask yourself, how many ghosts are going to be around your bed when your time comes? Wow, it's a haunting question, isn't it? It forces a moment of deep personal reflection. Because if you spend your whole life desperately obsessing over finding a safe little backup plan to fall back on, you are practically guaranteeing a crowded room of disappointed ghosts waiting for you at the end. To make sure your bed isn't crowded by those ghosts, you have to completely change how you approach life. Think of that classic 9-dot IQ test from the source material. You've got 9 dots, and you have to connect them all using 5 continuous pencil lines without lifting the pencil. The only mathematical way to solve it? You literally have to draw outside the box. You cannot stay inside the standard borders. Achieving anything great requires taking massive leaps far outside your comfort zone. You cannot be afraid to dream big, and you absolutely cannot be afraid to fail big. It all boils down to this one simple equation. To get something you never had, you have to do something you never did. It really is that straightforward. If you want unprecedented results in your life, you have to take unprecedented actions. Dreaming huge and enduring all the messy, inevitable failures along the way, that isn't just cheap motivational fluff. It's the absolute fundamental blueprint for living a life capable of extraordinary impact. So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with this final empowering thought. When life pushes you around, when you inevitably stumble, and when your perfect plans completely fall apart, are you going to fall back or are you ready to fall forward? Take the risks, see what you're going to hit, and never, ever let the fear of failure stop you from reaching your greatness. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, Focus Learners, and I will catch you in the next explainer.